Okay, hi everyone. Sorry for the bit of a delay with this. Setting up a live stream is more involved than one might think. What will I do today? Like I mentioned yesterday, I wanted to brew the Athletic Breakfast Ale, which is an ale with flakes of barley, oats, lactose, and grapefruit, which gives it a kind of nice and smooth texture. And yeah, it's going to be a full grain setup, so I'll have to do everything from start to finish. We'll see if the stream will actually have the whole brewing process, because it is about 4 hours. I don't know if everyone wants to actually go to that thing, so maybe it's possible to just have a stream that is just an hour, and then do another one for each part that is involved there, because honestly, every time you brew, it's kind of the same process, only the ingredients change basically, so maybe it will be possible to just kind of split it in separate parts. Also, at the end of today, I will have the beer in a fermenter, but still it's not going to be ready to drink. It has to stay there for a week or two, and after that there will be process of bottling, so that is also going to be a separate process of bottling. So okay, kind of starting here. I have the recipe that I showed yesterday. So out of the ingredients, we need half a kilo of a pale ale grains, 100 grams of flaked oats, 100 grams of flaked barley, and 100 grams of lactose. That's our lactose. We have 250 grams here, so there's maybe some stuff left. Kind of interesting things about lactose and oatmeal. Lactose basically adds this kind of a nice milkshake softness to beer, and the oats. Well, if you think about oatmeal, basically when you make a beer, it's kind of like making an oatmeal. Then oatmeal is also like very smooth, very light. So when you combine the lactose and oatmeal, you usually end up with beer which is not very bitter. It's kind of smooth on your taste. So those are the main ingredients here. Then I'm going to add some hops. Basically, it's just the Cascade hops, so a bit of kind of citrusy part there. Going to use the aforementioned grapefruit. From that grapefruit, I will need the grapefruit peel and the juice. The pulp itself, it's not going to be used in this recipe. And also I will use the Irish moss, which is here, those pellets. What Irish moss does, it basically makes much easier to have a clear beer without any haziness. It's not actual moss, it's a type of algae or something that is in a sea. Anyway, what it basically does, it takes the bigger proteins in the beer and clumps them together, so that they become heavier and they fall down to the bottom of the fermenter, making the beer much clearer. It might or might not have a great effect in here, but we will see about that. So this is, as I said, full grain process, which means that first we have to take the grains and extract sugars from them. There's also kind of a faster method, which is buying already extracted sugars, which basically you get in a liquid form. But in that case, you don't have that much control over what is the taste, because the base of the base taste of the beer are basically the malt. So with this kind of full grain approach, you have the full control over what's happening here. The thing here is that with those grains, they haven't been milled yet. So this is where this thing comes into. That's a mill for the malts, and with that, it will be much faster to actually grind them and start the brewing process. Also, you can see here I have basically two pots here. This one contains the water. The thing is that in brewing you don't really use water unless you're using it for cleaning. I guess that's the kind of the difference. So the water you can use for actually brewing, it's called liquor. So this is a hot liquor tank that contains the hot liquor. Out of that liquor, we're gonna extract the sugars from the grains, and then we're gonna have a wort. And that's still not a beer. Then we're gonna add the yeast in a fermenter, and at that point, it actually becomes a beer. You cannot really call something a beer if it doesn't have beer. You cannot really call something a beer if it doesn't have. So that's the process. So what we should start, or I should start with, is measuring all the ingredients that we will need. So first we need half a kilo of those grains here. So actually I have a half a kilo of scale those grains here, and let me just pour half a kilo for 400 almost 400 499 almost 400 and 500. Perfect. And okay, so that one we actually won't need it anymore. We have all the different one that we need over here, so I can actually move it back. We have all the different one that we need over here, so I can actually move it back. We have all the different one that we need over here. And now is the interesting part, which is assembling, which is the mill. To be honest, I have not opened this box. To be honest, previously, I have no idea how to do it. So you're kind of gonna be on this journey with me. It's kind of like on this journey with me. A weird version of IKEA. A weird version that helps you make beer. Okay. That helps you make beer. Coming up. That helps you make beer. Cone. Screw. And then the main body over here. And then the main two body over here. Screws as well. And fortunately, there is a instruction on the side. Not sure how visible that is, but yeah. So it's not how visible. Shouldn't be really. But yeah, so that complicated. But yeah, we start with attaching. But yeah, this part we start with to a table. We start with two buddies. We want this rubbery part to be buddies. We want this probably not here part to be buddies. Seems like it's a bit too big. Part to be, but seems like it's a bit too big. Seems like it's that one. Well, I will trust them that it is as it should be. Trust them that it is as it should be. Trust them that it is. So, given that, learn a bit more. Learn a bit more. A bit more. Okay. Now it is here. Okay. Now that is so it doesn't move too much. Okay, we have this attached. Now we put in the screw. We have this attached. Now this hole. Screw. You can actually see because this is similar to a grinder for meat from the outside, but actually from the inside it is not meat from the outside, but actually from the inside it is not. That was actually called the crown or corona as the very appropriate currently. So basically it kind of works in a different way. You have two sets of circles that grind against each other, and this way they are they're milling the grains. So it is kind of a different setup than in your regular grandma's meat in your grinder. So okay, we have that. So now we put the cover over here. Over here. Washers go. Yes, washers should go between those two parts. Yes, washers should go between those two parts. And same goes here. And same goes here. Okay. Here. Okay. Here. Okay. Here. Okay. Here. Okay. Here. Okay, so we have this. Okay, now so after touching this, this and then this, basically we're attaching our handle. Basically we're attaching our handle with this. And we're attaching our handle with this. And we're attaching our handle with this. And we're attaching our handle with this. Okay, and I believe this screw is supposed to go in here, and this screw is what this screw does in here, and is to basically regulate how close to each other are the two discs. So this way it regulates how big our grains are going to be, or how small. So how well our grains are well grounded, or how small. So how well our grains so we have a nice. So we have a nice cone here. We have a nice cone here. Not exactly. Nice cone here. Not exactly tight. Well, quite tight fit. So yeah, quite not very quiet too. So yeah, I hope it doesn't sound too horrible on the stream. So yeah, I hope it doesn't sound too horrible on the stream. I hope it doesn't sound too horrible on the stream. I hope. Now need a container to start milling everything into. To start milling everything into. With this underneath. Milling everything into. Start with this underneath. Milling a bit for now. And see what are the results for now. And see what are the results for now. And see everything pulse. The whole table does not like vibrations. Everything pulse. The whole table does not like vibrations. Everything pulse. Yeah, that's a bit too fine. If you see that it's just basically almost powder, and that's not what we want. What we want is kind of like partially milled grains. So let's continue grains. So let's a bit better. How would actually a bit more even if I can. How would actually Oh, that's going to be the maximum setting. That's going to be the maximum setting. Now we ended up with maximum grounded, but not not really grounded, but not powdery consistency. I wonder if we can even powdery consistency. Increase it even more. Powdery consistency. Increase it even more. Powdery consistency. Increase it even more. Okay. Increase it even more. Okay. I believe I was actually turning in the incorrect direction. I believe I was actually turning in the they say incorrect direction. Righty tighty, actually turning lefty loosey. They say incorrect direction. Righty tighty, but we can put it here, righty tighty here, but we can put it here, and basically by here, but we can put it leaving the space in here, by here, but we can put it leaving the space in here, by here. Leaving the space. It should have a bit more 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 space. More space. More. I did not expect this to be that complicated. Usually, I did not expect this to be that complicated. Usually the easiest kind of way is to just kind of buy grains that were already grounded. That's definitely the easiest way to do it. Already grounded. That's definitely the easiest way to do it. Okay. I believe we're getting nice consistencies of definitely not flour now. Nice consistencies of that's definitely what we don't want. Flour now. Nice consistencies. That's definitely what we don't want. Flour now. Nice consistencies. That's definitely what we don't want. Tiny bit. Tiny bit more. Okay, not sure how visible it is on the screen. We basically end up with pieces of on the screen husk. We basically end up with pieces of the actual grains. And yeah, that is actually quite good consistency for now. So what's basically left is to grind the whole thing. And yeah, I might recommend you to mute. Yeah, unfortunately, I cannot actually mute myself. So if that sound is horrible, I'm sorry, but I have to do it. I'm sorry, but I have to do it. We're getting quite nice crushed malts now. We're getting quite nice crushed malts now. Yep. Perfect consistency. Yep. And we're about halfway there. And we're about halfway there. Okay. Just a bit more, I promise. Okay. Just a bit more, I promise. And just a tiny bit more. And just tiny bit more. Oh, that was horrible sound. Anyway, we're done. We have nice and finely grounded. We're done. We have nice and finely grounded grains. And what we're gonna do is a process called mashing. And to do that, we need the water in our exact recipe to be at the temperature of around 71 degrees Celsius. Around 71. The water is Celsius. 70 water is yeah 76-ish. So that's tiny bit too much. We might actually add some. We might actually basically a bit colder water. In here we have 5 liters. And here we have for the whole process we need for the whole process we need for the whole process. Do I see in the recipe? Do they add it here? No, I don't think I added here. But basically you can calculate that for mashing we need 2.4. But basically you can calculate so we need about 6.2 liters in total. So we need to add a liter, 1.2 liters anyway. So 1.2 liters. The water is actually quite important in this process, but also if you're able to have a water that is kind of if you're able to have like normal, as in it's not too hard, it doesn't have too many chemicals, then you can have a nice base, and with that you can start adding different salts. Then you can have a nice base, basically make it exactly as you want. Basically make it exactly. Some styles require more preparation with the waters. Some don't. For example, Guinness has its very specific taste. A lot of it is out of the water. It's really hard, and that's what kind of gives it the taste. So, like, if you want to make the beer taste exactly the same as Guinness, you would need to make the water very similar. In this case, the water doesn't matter that much. The basically cleaned out water should be good enough. So here we have a good enough liter, and for now it's going to try to basically get it to the 71 degrees that we want. Hopefully 1 degrees that we want. That will happen here. That will happen here. So right now that will happen here. It is now 70. It is now 74. 70. So out a bit more. 70. So basically, well, I can use this to stir as well. The thermometer, why not? Well, I can use this. And right now we have exactly 71 degrees. Okay, perfect. So with that done, having the temperature. By the way, it's still on, so it keeps heating it up to kind of maintain this temperature. And given that we're done with this, I can actually remove it and well, kind of move it outside of the screen. Okay, so we have this. Okay, so this is our base malt. So we have and this. Then we need, and like I mentioned, 100 grams of the 100 grams of barley flakes and 100 grams of oats, they actually do not have to be grounded. Their texture, like basically, they're gonna flattened anyway. Those are flakes. So they're actually, yeah, they don't need to be grounded. They will do just fine as they are. They will. The lactose actually doesn't have to be in the mashing process. It doesn't change anything with it. What lactose does, basically there are two types of sugar in a beer, fermentable and non-fermentable ones. So to get a fermentable sugar, you basically have sugars from different grains, right? Like this, you basically have after the mashing, will basically like take the after the mashing, will basically like take the after the mashing, will basically okay. Sorry about that. Like take the after the mashing, will basically okay. Sorry about that. Like take the did not expect that. I did not expect that my phone can decide to my phone can receive phone calls. My phone can receive phone calls. My phone can receive phone calls. My phone. Anyways, I should actually probably maybe. I should actually probably maybe check out if there's anything on the chat. I should actually probably maybe check out if there's anything on the chat. I should actually probably maybe check out if there's okay, so apparently there is a okay, so on the stream there is a so on the stream I should try to figure out how to fix it. Should try to figure out how to fix it. Try to figure out. Yeah. Fix it. Give me a second then, and I will try to figure out what's wrong with give me a second setup. Then, and I will try to figure out what's wrong with give me a second setup. Then, and I will try to figure out what's wrong with give me a second setup. And I will try to figure out what's wrong with give me a second setup. And I will try to figure out what's wrong with give me a second setup. And I will try to figure out what's wrong with give me a second setup. And I will try to figure out what's wrong with give me a second setup. And I will try to figure out what's wrong with okay, let us see if that improved the audio in any way. Let us see if that hopefully improved the audio in any way. Let us see if that hopefully improved the audio in any way. Let us see if that well, welcome to technical difficulties. Well, welcome to technical difficulties. Anyways, if anyone there listening has any problems with the audio and can tell me on any of the chats, I believe that I should be able to see anything that is on Twitch, Facebook, or Instagram, or Facebook, or Instagram. But apparently there's still audio issues. Well, apparently there's still. Let me try to fix it again. Well, apparently there's still. Let me try to fix it again. Well, apparently there's still. Let me try to fix it again. Well, apparently there's still. Let me try to fix it again. Well, apparently there's still. Let me try to fix it again. Well, apparently there's still. Let me try to fix it again. Well, apparently there's still. Let me try to fix it again. Yeah. This is interesting. Yeah. This is interesting. Yeah. Okay, I believe I know what was wrong. This is what happens when you basically watch yourself while you're recording. I think that was the echo. If anyone can confirm that the audio is fine now, I will proceed with the brewing. I hope it's fine. Oh, technical difficulties, right? Okay, so apparently it's fine now. So that had to be horrible for everyone that listened to this. Well, sorry about that. At least from that now on, we can proceed normally. So, as I mentioned, there are two types of sugar, fermentables and non-fermentables. Fermentables we take basically from most of the grains, and after we put in the yeast will basically eat those sugars and convert them into alcohol and CO2. And then we have non-fermentable sugars, which they're not being eaten by the yeast, and what they do, they basically end up leaving the sweetness in the beer itself. So one of the non-fermentable sugars is, for example, lactose. The yeast cannot eat lactose, so that sweetness is going to stay in the beer. The other example is fructose, that is in fruits, that also will stay in the beer, not being fully fermented. So with this, I can actually start getting other parts. And by the way, if anyone has any questions at any moment, please ask them on the chat, and I will try to answer as well as I can. Let's make sure the mashing temperature is still fine. We are at 71. Perfect. Okay, so we have half a kilo of the pale malts, and now we need 100 grams of flaked barley. Well, this is actually flaked oats. Just 100 grams. Okay, we're at 100 grams. And then 100 grams of this. This is kind of dangerous. I have this poking sticky thing close to my eyes. And now another 100 grams of flaked barley. Okay, we're at 200. Actually move this away as well. So yes, now we have everything. It would be nice to kind of mix it together a bit. Unfortunately, I do not have enough space to mix everything really nice. But what I can do while pouring it in here, I can basically try to try to do it there. So how does mashing works? Basically, it's like cooking oatmeal. You take water and you add your grains and you mix them. So with this, I will take something so I can start pouring the water in here. Actually, I have a ladle somewhere around there. And yeah, slowly like adding the grains and mixing them with the water. And this is very important that you don't want to just pour everything in and then start mixing, because then you might end up with clumps of the grains, and this is really not good. So you want to have this kind of uniform mix of everything, but without clumps. So let's continue. Actually, this might be easier. So yeah, we poured here, well, a couple milliliters. I can just actually, we do want to measure how much water we're using here. Here we have, those are cups. Nope, we're in Europe. Okay, 500 milliliters in here. Okay, so that's more or less because we already used a bit of water, added a bit of water previously. So not a problem. Let's say we're at half a liter right now. We can add more grains. Those and the other ones. So this is how we can basically mix them in here. Start mixing. And honestly, if you'd be here, you'd smell this amazing smell of kind of, yeah, making an oatmeal or maybe baking a bread. Very nice smell that goes around the whole house and stays in your clothes. So your significant other might not be fine if you keep smelling like this the whole time. We have half a liter. Let's do more. Okay, that's another half a liter. And keep adding the grains. This and nicely let them mix together. Okay, can add a bit more. It's actually quite watery right now. So we're at the 1 liter. We're at 1 liter, but we do need 2.4 for the mash. So here, okay, another 500. Sorry, 1.5. Okay, 1.5 liters. Smells amazing. And adding a bit more grains. And keep nicely mixing for uniform consistency. This, add a bit more of those. Okay. And kind of note about this. We started at 71 degrees of the water, the hot liquor, and we want to have about ended up with about 66 degrees in here, plus minus like 1-2 degrees, I would say. Let's see how we're doing. We're at 56. should actually start heating this. 58. So yeah, that's a bit on a low side. So you definitely want to warm this up. Okay, so the heat is on. Also, the thing is that we want this to be really controlled environment. We don't want to like spontaneously start bubbling or anything. You really want to have the temperature steady, so it is better to kind of use lower settings on the heater. So now we're at 2 liters. I can mix it again. Okay. Add the last piece of the grains and mix it together. Nicely mix it together. Okay, so now we have the amount of water and the amount of grains that we need. The thing that we do not have the right temperature. We have to go a bit higher to get to the 66 degrees. And yeah, now we're about 60. So definitely want a bit more. So we're gonna slowly try to warm it up to the 66, and then the actual process of mashing might. We can start counting the time of the mashing process, but we're still missing 200 milliliters of water. A bit to be exactly at. Oh no, sorry, 400 milliliters. To be that's a bit hot. 71 degrees hot exactly. Okay, we're at 400 milliliters. Add it in, and now yes, exactly. We have all the fermentables in here, and we have the 2.4 liters of water that we wanted. So let us see what's the temperature. Come on, it's a bit, well, still about 60. Let us just leave the thermometer for now, so it's easier to see. And with this, we still haven't filled the tank to as much we need. The total was 6.2. We used 2.4 liters to do the mashing, and then we're going to need the rest of it to do the sparging, which I will explain a bit later. So with this, I previously added the 1 liter. I didn't fill the whole thing, so now we're at 6 liters. And now I need 200 milliliters more. Which I will have in a second. Okay. So, for the sparge water, we need this to be at 77 degrees. We're at 71 at previous settings, so we can increase the heat on this to actually match the temperature that we want. We're at 62, slowly getting there. The whole method is very much about trying to control your setup and then learning how it behaves. So usually when you use the same amounts of liquids and grains, you're basically able to say at which setting of your hub what temperature it stays at. So with this, it should stay kind of on a low side, but you definitely don't want to let it to be too hot and yeah, for example, like start bubbling or anything like that. We're at 64. Yes, oh yeah, 65-ish, 64.5, for example. Okay, so with this being at the correct temperature that that we want, yep, let us do one more mix. We basically need to keep this temperature for about an hour. So to know there's been an hour, I will set a timer. Can actually take this away as well. Can take our scale here. We're still going to need to weigh the 100 grams of the lactose. Can move the recipe out of the way. And yeah, set timer to 1 hour.
Okay, your timer is set for 1 hour.
Great. So now we can focus on other stuff that is supposed to be done here. Well, namely, we can add the missing 200 milliliters. Okay, adding it to 200 milliliters. Now, of course, it's going to be a bit colder. We're at 68. Okay, so still a bit more. How about the mash? The mash is at, yeah, a bit too much. Yeah. It went a bit more closer to 70 rather than the 66 that we would want to, but it's just for a bit, so not that much of a problem. And also you have to remember that the temperature is not really uniform. The bottom is going to be warmer than the top, so having a mix before measuring the temperature, it's a good idea. So with this, I believe actually I can decrease it even more, and we should stay at a nice, perfect temperature. Yeah, the sparging water can keep going. We can move here. So as I mentioned previously, for this recipe, we need the peel. The thing is that the best thing is not actually the whole skin. Is just the peel. There are specific tools to get that. Unfortunately, I have a regular old potato peeler or carrot peeler, depending on what you're actually using for. Should be good enough. It will probably get a bit deeper into the skin, and the thing is that if you go a bit deeper into the skin, it gets a bit more bitter. So let us try to have a peel. Also, it's nice to have a bit harder fruits. Well, looks fine. I will actually reuse the previous container, and yeah, basically it's kind of a flake of the skin, so that's what we want to kind of use it for. So what it will leave is this nice citrusy flavor, and hopefully not too much bitterness. It's the same thing with the juice. The juice is quite sweet. I know grapefruits are generally bitter, but not as much if you would add very bitter hops. So with this, yeah, I think it's a very nice and ripe grapefruit, perfect for eating. Not perfect if you want to try to scrape it, but still kind of works. Kind of works. So yeah, it's the kind of brewing goes into in stages, which is basically do some work, wait an hour. do some different part of work, wait an hour. But if you do not, like, it's not something that you can really like go away and say like, oh yeah, I will, you know, watch Netflix for an hour. It is still something that you need to be around. You still have to monitor the temperature once in a while. Sometimes you need to like stir something, or just generally make sure that everything is within the ranges. Because what is honestly kind of there are two kind of most important things in brewing. There's a saying that brewing is 90% cleaning, which is true, which is basically if you didn't clean something properly, then it might basically end up infecting your beer. And infecting your beer means basically it goes sour and you just pour the whole thing down the drain. And yeah, it is kind of a kind of an important task, so you have to be very careful about cleaning everything. And the other very important thing about brewing is consistency. You really want to be consistent, because then if you might end up with having a bad beer and you have no idea what happened there. But also, you might end up having amazing beer and you have no idea what you did to actually make it that amazing. So that's a problem. And as much as homebrewers, you know, kind of hate the big breweries and they call the beers that they make, you know, all different kind of bad words. Yeah, that's a good temperature. Maybe even a bit lower. Maybe not. But yeah, as much as homebrewers like to call names the beers of the big breweries, they all have a huge deal of respect toward those breweries, because in the end, they make exactly the same beer wherever they are. Brands like Heineken, they're able to do, or Carlsberg, they're able to do exactly the same beer no matter the water conditions or any environmental things that might influence the beer. And that is something that is amazing, and it's really hard to achieve in home environment, especially if you do smaller batches. Because there's one thing about it where the bigger the batches, the more beer you make at once. If you make a mistake by like, you know, couple of grams, couple of milliliters, that's fine. Like that's not really gonna make a change. But if you just make 1 gallon, like 4 liters more or less, those kind of changes really influence how the beer is gonna taste. So, okay, we're at 76. So now we just want to keep this temperature, more or less, and yeah. And yeah, so the consistency is really, really important, and yeah, I've kind of forgot where I was going with that. But going back to our grapefruit, we have the grapefruit peels in here, and now we need to get the juice. I do actually have a juicer somewhere here. Here it is. Which should give us a very nice and basically take all the juice out of the fruit. But for that, I need to move a couple of things and plug it in. So hey, we have this, and now it would be nice to cut the grapefruit so it can be squeezed out. Also, we do not want pulp, so in that setting is here. So basically try to extract just the juice out of this fruit. Okay, this is cut. This is a very nice grapefruit over here. Okay, and then the second part. It's quite literally a juicy grapefruit, and it seems it is about 200 milliliters of juice out of one grapefruit. That's not bad. So like I said, pulp, we're not really gonna need this. It's nice that we have this separated in the machine, but yeah, we just need the juice in this case. So we can leave it on a side, let it basically drip as much as it can, and yeah, again check up on the temperature. So yeah, what happens now is basically in that temperature, the water is extracting the sugars out of the grains, and yeah, what will become out of this is the thing that we call the wort. And it seems like it's a bit high of a temperature. That's an additional thing where you're doing stuff at home. It will very much differ depending on the day. Like for example, today it is quite warm outside, so it's harder for all the equipment to basically give out the heat, and yeah, everything basically becomes a bit warmer. So you have to very much make sure that you're that's the reason why you just basically cannot leave the equipment on its own unless you have some automatic system that will keep the temperature the same as it did during the whole process. But if you don't, well, then you kind of have to stay there with your thermometer and keep checking if everything is definitely fine. But yeah, that's the process, and yeah, given that we actually have some time to spare, and namely we have 47 minutes. The first important part I mentioned about brewing, which is the cleaning. The thing about the cleaning, there are kind of like two parts of the whole brewing process, right? Like I mentioned, first you do the mashing, then you do the sparging, which is basically sieving the hot water through the grains. Then you go to the boiling phase, which, as the name suggests, it boils the whole wort. You boil it usually around an hour, and basically until that point, basically once you boil it, you probably killed anything that was in there, right? Like you disinfected anything in there, because yeah, the living things that would spoil your beer, they would not survive that temperature for that long. So until then, you might be more kind of nilly-willy about what is being cleaned, right? So everything that, even if there was something alive in my hands or any of the equipment, it might be fine. But the moment when the beer cools off after the boiling and the temperature starts to drop, and you start to basically transfer the beer from the container when you were boiling it to a fermenter. In this case, it's kind of a very nice, lovely 1 gallon jug from Brooklyn Brew Shop. All of this has to be really well disinfected, because yeah, if anything touches it, and then, you know, when I'm talking everything, I'm talking about everything that the liquids goes into, so all the containers, all the hoses, everything that basically flows through, any tools that actually gonna be in contact with the beer. Is it this or the like for example the hygrometer, like that is also is gonna be in contact with the beer. So well, with the cold wort. And yeah, you have to make sure that all of it is clean. If it's not, all your, the whole day of your work will be worth nothing, because the beer is just gonna go bad and you will feel bad. So yeah, with that said, we have plenty of time. The next step will be starting to boil, and when we start boiling, the next step is going to be sparging. So there's still plenty of time. We can weigh the lactose, but honestly, doesn't have to be done yet. So, given the time, if anyone has any questions, I have plenty of time to answer them. If not, what might be good is basically cut the live stream now, and then see you again in about half an hour, and yeah, continue with the next stage, which will be sparging. I did not see any questions, therefore I would say see you in half an hour.